So businessman Suleiman Karim is taking the Madlanga Commission to court today in an urgent bid to halt the probe from subpoenaing him to appear before it this Friday. In papers that have been filed before the High Court in Johannesburg, Karim urgently seeks this interdict against the Commission pending Part B of his application, which sets to review and set aside the decision of the Commission to deem him a witness. He says this is on the basis that he is an implicated person until the Commission complies with what he describes as a principle of natural justice to protect the rights afforded to him. Karim was implicated in testimony relating to alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Madlanga, where the former is accused of leaking sensitive SABC information to the latter. And Karim was also accused of using his political influence to assist Madlanga. The Madlanga Commission will be opposing that application. All right, let's get you a sense of how things are likely to unfold. Bring in now our senior reporter, Canny Maphanga, live to us from inside the Bridget Mabanda Justice College. And Canny, before we speak about what we're going to hear unfolding at the Commission today, perhaps we could take time to address this application by Suleiman Karim. What exactly would you say his gripe is, at least if his papers are anything to go by?
Indeed. Good morning to you, Ayanda, and to the viewers at home. Essentially, this issue that we've been discussing for quite a number of days is coming up yet again with a Phase 2 witness, which is the implicated persons. As we've already set the foundation that these kinds of proceedings are quite adversarial in nature, you're going to get a number of these implicated persons trying to get a fair process from the Madlanga Commission. Of course, there are going to be issues and objections that they raise regarding the kind of information that they need to defend themselves. But businessman Suleiman Karim has gone much further than that. It seems he has quite extraordinary demands from the Commission that he seeks to have, and that impasse between the two parties hasn't been resolved by the time of yesterday afternoon when they decided to forge ahead with this particular bid, which is the first time that we're seeing the probe being taken to court in light of a witness who is stating that they want to be afforded their rights and given all their information, etc., before they appear before the Commission. But it goes far further than that, because he's actually challenging the process itself, because it seems in the papers, if he does get to Part B in his review, that he actually wants to cross-examine his witnesses, or rather persons who have implicated him before the Commission, before he actually appears. So essentially what is happening here is that the rules are slightly being challenged by Suleiman Karim in this particular bid. But in the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg, the urgent court will only be concerned with Part A, which is the urgent bid that he seeks to bring today, which is that he wants to interdict the Madlanga Commission from, I guess, giving effect to that subpoena, which expects him to sit in that witness stand on Friday at 9:30 a.m. and respond to those various allegations or manners in which he has been implicated in the evidence before the Madlanga Commission. That is directly evidence dealing with Brown Mokgotsi, the alleged political fixer, and then, of course, alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Madlanga. We see in the communications between the three that Karim allegedly played a role in the securing of that Medicare contract, allegedly received a benefit for that, received some form of alleged payment, and then, of course, assisted Madlanga with that sensitive SABC information, allegedly, which he is accused of leaking to him. So those are quite serious allegations that Suleiman Karim will have to face before the Madlanga Commission, but that is all subject to what you're going to see playing out in the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg this morning, when he seeks to first convince the court that this matter is indeed urgent, and then, of course, whether or not he is entitled to the relief that he seeks, which is essentially an interdict which would stop that subpoena. And I'm seeing behind me that the commissioners are set to get ahead of that proceeding in a few moments, but that is actually the Chief Evidence Leader, Advocate Matthew Charskison. We still have some time, Ayanda, to unpack that further. And as I've stated earlier, it appears that the Madlanga Commission has branded this as a self-created urgency, going into the great length of the communications that they sought to establish with Karim's lawyers, which stem back from December, because essentially from the papers that oppose this particular bid, he was supposed to appear in January, and they changed that date to now the 6th of February, sought a meeting on the 23rd, and the lawyers allege that that meeting was not honored by Karim's lawyers, and then, of course, this bid then fell flat, or rather negotiations fell flat, and you saw this bid launched before the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg yesterday. And another question that I think, Ayanda, will come up is whether or not this relief that is sought in terms of the rights he once afforded to him as an implicated person, and of course the kind of demands that he seeks in terms of the people that have implicated him, whether it would not be more appropriate to make that application before the Commission instead of seeking the courts to intervene in this process that is ongoing, has its own rules, has its own structures and terms of reference. So we'll see how that particular bid plays out. Of course, if he's successful, he won't be sitting in that chair on Friday. But if not, that subpoena will still stand, and he is expected to take the stand on Friday. Whether or not he shows up will be a different issue altogether.
Absolutely. Depending how it goes, it certainly feels like it'll be precedent setting. So we'll certainly be watching those developments very closely as they unfold in court. But Canny, of course, today we're expecting a witness was meant to take to the stand on Friday, but successfully applied for postponement and for his testimony essentially to be delivered in camera.
Indeed. I see we have 1 minute left before we head to that particular testimony. Essentially, what you'll see is a partially in-camera witness, as per the ruling on Friday given by retired Justice Madlanga, the chairperson of the Commission, after the lawyers of this particular witness gave that application and were successful in securing that bid. It becomes difficult, Ayanda, because the information relating to this witness does give you clues about who this particular witness is. But essentially, what you are expecting is this witness to touch on the issue of alleged cartel member Katiso Katie Molefe and him allegedly being seen on CCTV footage leaving the residence of Katiso Katie Molefe with that bag in tow. The biggest question that's going to emerge is what was inside that bag, and if there was possibly any alleged benefit associated with that particular visit at Katiso Katie Molefe's residence. I'm just going to quickly step out of frame as we expect the commissioners to take their seats, and I see they already have. Let's get into those proceedings and listen to what that partially in-camera witness has to say. Over to you in studio.